Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside the Pigskin. Yes, it is Thursday night. I know that there's a Hall of Fame game going on with reserves, so I'm not worried about competing with the NFL on a night where everybody else has an opportunity to try to get in there. We'll worry about it later in the fall, but not now. So meanwhile, let me go out there and introduce my crew for this evening. We'll lead off with George Eichhorn. George, welcome back.
Hey, good to be back here, Scott.
First of two for the both of us. So
Yep.
We'll start with football. Travis Holmes, welcome back, my friend.
Hey, thank you for having me. And like you said, we're not competing with Zach Wilson. That's not much of a competition at all.
No, not at all. And of course, Coach Bonamego. What can I say, my friend? Glad to have you back, Coach.
Glad to be here, Scott. Thank you.
And Smoking Jeremy, first of two for you as well, right? My right-hand man.
Oh, yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, I know it breaks your heart, doesn't it? It breaks your heart. Oh well, deal with it. We'll see what you got.
It's just getting rough. 8 o'clock starts after work until 7. Don't get out till 7:15. Come home, try to eat, and get on a podcast today. It's killing me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, sorry, no sympathy. If you had to write a 5 to 7 hours a day on a book, then I'll get more sympathy. But I get where you're coming
Swing
from.
tires and manage a tire shop.
Well, you're good
It's
at
just
it.
as stressful. Just as stressful.
I'm sure it is, but we're not comparing occupations because you're in the media right now, not in the tire business. So
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. By the way, my subtitle says exactly what I think. Why did they call it the Hall of Fame game when the Hall of Fame quarterback isn't going to play and the massage parlor frequenter isn't playing either?
Oh, gosh.
I don't know. All right. Well, with that said, off to Mel Farr Jr. Welcome back, Mel.
Hey, it's great to be back, guys.
All right, well, let's get to it. I got a few things I want to address. I'm going to hand the ball off to Mel. So the last Detroit Lions playoff win occurred when Troy Aikman was the losing quarterback. Barry Sanders was the Lions running back. John Madden was the commentator, and Jared Goff wasn't even born. My goodness. All right, George.
Yeah, I was there, and that was a great game. The Lions did a hell of a job. You too, Jeremy. What a beautiful win that was at the Pontiac Silverdome playoff win, beating the mighty Cowboys. And but the sad part is it's been too long, as all the Lions fans know, way too long since they've last been claiming a playoff victory. But hopefully this year will be different. But anytime Barry Sanders goes up against Troy Aikman, Cowboys, in the place was just crazy. I mean, you remember they just lift the lid, as they said, off the Silverdome. The noise level was beyond comprehension, but that's a great memory and a great game. And the Lions hope to do that better this year and come up with a home win at Ford Field in the playoffs.
Well, I saw these two teams play at Texas Stadium on Monday Night Football, and at Texas Stadium, I'm going to tell you, that place was electric. So I get it. I was actually at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena when the Michigan Wolverines were taking on Washington. That's why I didn't make that game. So
okay,
but you covered it. I had the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. Pasadena is more of a bucket list item for a lot of people, and that want to see the Rose Bowl. All right, turn over to Travis.
Yeah, nearly my entire adult life, the Detroit Lions have not won a playoff game. That is just an insane thing. And it stinks because we've talked about this on previous podcasts. Like I actually believe in the current iteration of the Detroit Lions. Like, you guys are a really competitive matchup for my home team. If you can't tell, it's Jacksonville Jaguars. Like, I do respect the way you guys have built this current team, and I do hope that this does change. But that's just wild. 31 years, 31 years without 32. Is it?
It'd be 33 if they don't make the playoffs.
Okay, my apologies. So you guys have not been in the playoffs for, what is it, 6 years now?
Yes.
You didn't make the playoffs last year, right?
2017 was the last time.
Yeah. So you have not been in the playoffs for 6 years straight and have not won one in 32 years. So again, you're building it the right way. So hopefully this will be the year to break all these curses. But nevertheless, that is just insane for a franchise that had both, Calvin Johnson and Barry Sanders to have that kind of a drought, like in the prime of their careers. So, good luck, fellas. Good luck.
Too bad we couldn't have had them together with Matt Stafford.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, well, let's move over to Coach, and then Jeremy will have a chance to complete his thought.
I'm a little bit salty because I think we had a game one, against the Cowboys down in Dallas in was it 2014 season, and that one, controversial loss. So it's coming. I really do. I'm a fan of Dan Campbell. I had a chance to work with him briefly in Miami when he first started out, and been watching him, and you can tell by the way that they play. They've really, I always say the characteristics of the kingdom emanate from the king, and so he's a hard-nosed, tough guy. That's the style that they're playing, and that's what they got to do to win that division. And we'll see what happens, but I think that's going to come to an end here very quickly.
Okay. All right, Jeremy, go ahead.
Yes, George, it was a glorious thing to see. What was that? 31-6? 31-6?
I thought it was 38-6, wasn't it?
38-6.
Oh,
Okay.
38. Yeah.
I thought it was 31, but 38's good too. Either way, they only allowed Troy Aikman and Emmitt Smith to score 6 points. That was the team that should have had a shot, but they had to run into the same buzzsaw they ran into in the middle of the season that stopped them, which was the Washington Redskins that went on to win the Super Bowl. It's funny when Detroit loses a game. 9 times out of 10, it's somebody that goes real far in the playoffs, with the exception of that Dallas game because they didn't deserve it in the first place.
Mel?
Yeah, my brother played on that team, and we were talking about that a few weeks ago. We were talking about, when they lost that game, they beat Dallas with Troy and Emmett, of course, and Michael Irving. And they went in to play Washington, and after they lost to Washington, they decided to change the offense. They decided to incorporate a tight end and things of that nature to become more of a balanced attack. Because they didn't keep any tight ends on the roster prior to that because they were running the run and shoot, so they didn't have a tight end on the roster. Period. And I believe that was one of the downfalls of Wayne Fontes' coaching career, is that he decided to make a change because what they were doing, nobody was doing at that particular time. I mean, they had 4 wides and Barry Sanders. There was all kind of lanes for Barry to run in. They had great receivers, whether with Herman Moore and my brother and Matthews, guys, I can't think of their names right now, but they had great receiving core and Rodney Pete there, and they were doing very good things, and they had a good defense as well, and they played hard. Guys like playing for Wayne. It was unfortunate that he kind of decided to pivot there, but I'm excited for this season to see what the Lions are going to do. I do believe that they are going to make the playoffs. Obviously, everybody feels the same way. A lot of the pundits feel that way, that the Lions are going to win the division, and because the division is basically wide open now that Aaron Rodgers is left. There's an opportunity there, and I think that the Lions, are in prime position to take advantage of him leaving.
I think the 2 biggest mistakes the Lions made were, number one, Eric Kramer was not the starting quarterback going into the following season because he played his way to the championship game. Number 2, when they let Jerry Vanisi go, who built the foundation of that team, that was a curse of Vanisi and Kramer. And to me, I don't care. Coaches have different philosophy whether a guy should lose his position due to an injury, but if there's ever a situation where Eric Kramer should have been the starting quarterback, that's what should have happened, not bring in Scott Mitchell. Okay, Jeremy.
On top of that, wasn't it Eric Kramer that won the game when we beat Dallas and Rodney Pete got healthy in between and they started him against Washington and played like booty cheeks?
Right. No, I'm with you. Eric Kramer.
Okay.
That's
I'm just saying, I think Eric Kramer would have given him a better shot. But at the same time, Barry didn't do much in that game versus Washington either.
But the point is
That's one of the few games you can say Barry was held in check.
Yeah, but my point is, I believe Eric Grimmer should have been the starting quarterback the following season. I've always believed it. I've always felt it, and I'll never change. But that said, we will change topics, however, and that change of topics will be going north of the border as the Edmonton Elks, formerly the Eskimos, succeeded in breaking the North American sports record for most home losses in a row. 21. Yes, they have a game called 21, and now the Edmonton Elks could say 21. With that said, George, the Edmonton Elks.
Unbelievable. The streak continues. That is a new professional record, like you said, Scott. It's got to be frustrating, and the coaching staff, obviously everyone says, take one game at a time, and you try to focus on getting one, just win one at home. But what a terrible streak. I don't get a chance to see much CFL. I know they're occasionally on ESPN, but I don't get the CBC Canadian outlet here on my satellite channel 9 in Windsor. I used to get a good healthy dosage of CFL football, but I don't anymore. But I tell you what, Edmonton, boy, you talk about a tough situation. That's horrible, owning that kind of streak.
I believe they're on the CBS Sports Network. That's where I've seen them.
Oh, are they? Okay.
I don't know. I watch a game here and there, but not a lot. But all right, Travis.
I mean, we spoke about this when there was the possibility of the record being broken, and it kind of hasn't changed. Like, they need major change from the top, and that stinks to say because they've had moderately big major change over the last few seasons. Like, they had a new president back in 2021, and they had a new general manager back in 2022. So this streak goes across the last 2 seasons, but it just hasn't changed, and it's just wild to see. So they've had the wholesale change that it seems that's needed, but nevertheless, it's not resulting in wins. So I don't know if this is the Canadian version of the Urban Meyer experiment. Like, is this purposeful or or what? But nevertheless, it's just not being resolved. And unfortunately, this is a community-owned league. I learned this just in researching for this after the last time we talked about it. But so it's weird that they have like a board of directors who have to kind of vote and talk about all these things to make these moves. But they need to have they truly need to come to Jesus meeting. They need to sit down and just figure this out. And whatever changes at the top need to be made, they have to do it, because who wants their name attached to something like this? This is just crazy.
Yeah. I don't know. All right, Coach.
Travis very eloquently laid it out. I think changes definitely need to be made. I mean, I went to their website to see if I knew any of the staff or anything. And the first thing that jumped out to me is you have one person that holds 3 major titles. I mean, the head coach is also the general manager and the defensive coordinator. And I just, I don't know if that would fly in, arena league football. I mean, that's just, there haven't been many people in the NFL that have been able to balance that head coach GM. I mean, I think Parcells did it for a little while, but that it wasn't, his famous line of wanting to be able to shop for his own groceries. But it's just, systemically, that's just, it doesn't work. And you got to pick one of those titles, and then I think you just got to blow the whole thing up and start from scratch.
Jeremy.
Oh, I think fans are ready to do the drink the Kool-Aid, and I'm not talking like from the fandom. I'm talking about like down in Waco, Texas, where they're just ready to take a dirt nap. I mean, how bad is this for the fan base? Let alone the GM is probably sitting there with a noose above his chair and leaning back, waiting for it to fall.
Now,
yeah, it's tough. I know losing is tough. I know it's tough to win in any level. It's tough to win, but at some point in time, Lady Luck's got to fall on your side, and you have to be able to win one game. For them to lose this many games, that's pretty bad, and it's a shame for the fans, obviously, and for the players. They put a lot of work into this, And obviously, they're not getting whatever it is that they need so that they can be competitive week in and week out. I don't know what their structure is like over there as far as ownership and general managers and things of that nature, but something obviously is not going right for that team for them to have this type of losing streak.
All right. Well, I just want to let everybody know that Inside the Pigskin is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of this show can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Participate in the chat room or send your topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, call me at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. Twitter information is at Tribune South. Candy Ebeling is behind the scenes, putting up YouTube videos from the University of Miami earlier in the week, as well as getting things posted. Also, coming up later this summer, the Motor City Mad Mouth Show will be debuting on the Eagle Court Media Studios in Boca Raton, owned by Dr. Edwin Hernandez. And the Eagle Corp is a technology-based company in Boca Raton. I am the president of broadcasting for the Media Studios division. I should also point out that beginning on Thursday night, next Thursday, that Pundit's Pundit will be in prime time with myself, George, Jacob Christner, and Denzel Snipes, and we'll have some guests matriculate in and out of there at 8 o'clock. Pundit's Pundit is moving over from Sideline Sports because of the fact that they wanted George Eichhorn, and George said that Thursday was his best night of available. So I'm glad that George brings that type of respect to what we're doing here. And Pundit's Pundit is a heck of a show. It really does. We talk about sports and non-sports related topics, and our goal here is to take it to a different level, add different things, but also make sure that we create an audio audience in addition to the video one that we have. So beginning next Thursday at 8 Eastern time, Pundit's Pundit will be on Thursday nights in prime time. That will also mean that No Limits will most likely move to Wednesday night as well. And if there is no Limit show, there'll be other shows that will be on that evening. Just a little heads up. All right. But that set out of the way. Starting in 2023, the Howard Schnellenberger Trophy will be given to the winner of the annual game between Miami and Louisville. The Schnellenberger Trophy features actual bronze boots, Western, worn by the late head coach when both teams, he led them to prominence. Now, the ACC designated both schools as permanent opponents starting this season. The trophy will stay with the winning team each year. Miami will host Louisville on November 18th, and I will be there on that particular day. So with that said, George, I've always believed that Howard Schnellenberger should be in the Hall of Fame. The only reason he doesn't is he took over a lot of programs and turned them around, and his winning percentage does not suffice to get him in the Hall. But what are your thoughts about this game between Miami and Louisville?
I think it's a great idea. I'm glad the conference did that and recognized this great man, this great coach, for all he's done. I've always been a proponent of these games where trophies are awarded. Michigan State has the Paul Bunyan Trophy, and there's the Old Oaken Bucket. There's all kinds of trophies, not only in the ACC, but the Big Ten and other conferences as well. But the man Howard Schnellenberger, and I know, Scott, you were able to cover him and become, closer to him than I ever was. But I mean, you saw in him the special, unique attributes he had as a head coach, and not only that, as the saying goes, a maker of men. His players, the players that resulted from his coaching and his techniques and his, human touch, if you will, they're better as a result of having played under that man. And so I think this is a great tribute to him. And I look forward to that game as well. I'll be back here watching it, but you're going to be there. But it's a great tribute.
Well, Howard Schnellenberger to me was a father figure. Coach, I'm sure you probably know all about Howard Schnellenberger for sure. Who doesn't? I mean, he was a father figure to me, and he's going to be prominently featured in my book, Adjusting to New Media. I mean, why not? I mean, he's written. I worked with him beginning with the Miami Hurricanes, and then I came over to FAU, and George, you had an opportunity to meet him one time over at the Motor City Bowl when
Yes.
it took on Central Michigan, I believe. So it was pretty neat. All right, Travis, what's your thoughts on this contest?
I mean, that's a dope tribute. Like I can honestly say, like a lot of the people who don't know, like to be clear, I'm 36, right? Well, 37. Sorry, I don't even know my age. That's how old I am these days. I have to ask my wife. No, Schellenberger, he literally built both of these programs. Like Miami was talking about getting rid of their program, not 2 or 3 years before he got there. He builds them back up, gets them a national championship within a year. 3 years by the third year, but they've been in the top 25 2 of those years before that. Then he goes into his hometown in Louisville and builds them up, and then they get 14th or 15th in the nation, something like that, within a few years. So they're like, this is our guy, this is this is from our hometown. And Miami's like, no, he built us up, he'll forever be dear to our hearts. And that is a great reason to fight. That is a great person to have on that trophy. That is a great tribute in and of itself. Like, because again, I'm younger. I don't know the history behind a lot of that until someone tells me that. So that makes it a little bit of a dope competition between two teams who actually have some real skin in the game. So it's pretty cool.
Coach Bonamago?
I think that you hit it on the head. I think the guy deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And what he did was took two really what I would say non-traditional football programs and built them into powerhouses. And so, now we think everybody believes or thinks of Miami as it's a football school. Louisville is a football school. It wasn't that way for either of those programs. The common denominator being Howard Schnellenberger. And I love the deal with the boots. I just wish there was a way they could get the pipe in there too.
Oh, and let's not forget, Coach, that when he built the FAU program from scratch.
Again, another third one. No program at all, right?
Yeah, but the thing about that one is he ended up scheduling opponents he knew he couldn't beat, sought the large paydays just to build a program up and subsequently on campus stadium. So
and that's one of the necessary evils of being at a mid-major. You have to, you've got to schedule those teams to get those paydays to fund your athletic department.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that work firsthand working at Central Michigan. So
absolutely,
yeah. Jeremy.
Well, I can honestly say that I don't know much about him, but it is a great tribute to have your name put on a trophy. I mean, no different than the great Lions running back of the 40s and 50s, Doak Walker. What an honor. College is very good about honoring the legends of the game. And was Howard there during the whole what was that series between Miami and Notre Dame go? Oh yeah, the Catholics and the convicts. Was that when he was there?
That would have been Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, I thought it was Jimmy Johnson.
I was just checking.
But I will say this though. I did see Schnellenberger beat Notre Dame 20-0 when I was covering the team at the Orange Bowl. So
and I thought his national championship that he won for Miami was against Nebraska though. It wasn't that one, but it was against Nebraska.
Yeah, that was unbelievable. Watching Jim Kelly the year before, and then Bernie Kosar ultimately led the team. They were heavy underdogs. So, it's all right, Mel.
Yeah, I think it's a great honor. I think it's long overdue. I'm with a lot of you guys. He should be in the Hall of Fame, because of what he did. I mean, he brought programs like most of you, like all of you have said. I mean, the programs that were not traditional powers and turned them into powers. I mean, Miami. When he left Miami for Louisville, I couldn't understand why he was doing that at that particular time. And because he got it right to where you want a program to be. I mean, they were relevant, and he made Louisville a relevant program. I mean, Louisville prior to that, that was a basketball school. They were a basketball school. But now when you think of Louisville, you think of football, and you also think of basketball as well. So I think it's long overdue. I think they definitely, should be in the Hall of Fame. There's got to be a way as a contributor because of what he did for those particular universities. What the contribution that he's given to the game, and what he's done for young men, the opportunities that he's provided for young men. I think he definitely needs to be acknowledged, and I think it's a great honor. And I think it's long overdue.
All right, Jeremy.
DC 8091 comes in and says, Thirsty Thursday in Baltimore. Evening, men.
All right. Well done.
And
DC is one of my fans. He's originally from Detroit. He lives in Baltimore. So he lives and breathes Lions football and tolerates Ravens football.
Hello, Brian. Back. At least we're talking about something that's your language tonight. Glad to have you back, Brian.
and I just wanted to point out that Schnellenberger does not get the credit that he should for the way that he revolutionized recruiting as far as South Florida was concerned. Like you guys talked about him building up FAU, but he's the reason that recruiting in South Florida became like a guaranteed thing. Like that's how Miami was able to build that program up from nothing. They were just like, hey, if you're from South Florida, you're playing at Miami. And he was just taking all the best people from around the nation. So like from around the state, which we know that the guys from Miami are pretty much some of the best in the nation, and that'll do it. So he's the one who started that trend, and he for that reason alone deserves a mention into the Hall of Fame.
Good points, Travis, all the way around. I agree. I mean, he definitely recruited South Florida really, really well.
Yeah.
All right, the last topic I'm going to deliver tonight, and then Mel's going to take over. Maryland quarterback Talia Tagovailoa was offered $1.5 million to join SEC team. Decided to stay at Maryland. He started the last two seasons after leaving Alabama. He's the all-time leader with 7,879 yards and 51 touchdowns for Maryland. So, all right, George, it's nice to see a young prospect stay and where he knows he's appreciated, only that there could be a payday anyways.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's not a prestigious program. I mean, Maryland. But I tell you what, I give the kid credit. I mean, everywhere nowadays you see going into the portal and kids leaving and transferring all over the place. But I mean, that's a tough situation in Maryland. I mean, they really, really have a tough row of it. A lot of teams in the Big Ten, when you got the powerhouses like Penn State, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Ohio State, and now with USC and UCLA coming aboard. But that being said, I think he made the right decision. I think he likes it there. He likes the offense. He likes his coaching staff, I'm sure. And moreover, loves the university. So for him to show that kind of respect and wanting to stay, I applaud him.
Travis?
He's a fifth-year senior. He's already transferred schools. He has a brother who is in the NFL. His family's not struggling, not hurting for money. For all these reasons and more, it was easy. I think it felt more like an easy decision. I mean, more importantly, he was already projected to be a mid-round draft pick had he come out in this draft. As long as he doesn't get injured, he's more likely than not going to be an early day 3 pick as a quarterback, and not like a Russell Wilson or like a smaller version of his brother. Cool. So in from looking at it from that perspective, yeah, it makes total sense why he wouldn't take the money, because he probably has that much or more coming to him, coming next year. As long as he just doesn't do anything catastrophic on the field this year, he's probably fine. But again, if this was someone in a much rougher situation, maybe they were really struggling for money, I can absolutely see them taking that. But for his personal,
Right.
situation with his family, it makes total sense why he'd stay.
Coach?
I think there's a lot of reasons. First, I give the kid credit for being loyal, but I think you can't discount the fact that, Mike Loxley's there. Lox I go way back with Lox. He's an excellent coach, great person. He's a perfect man to be leading that program. And you got Josh Gaddis. And what did all three of those have in common? Well, they were all together at Alabama when his brother was playing there. So, the family feels comfortable. They know he's in good hands. He's being taken care of. And, that combination with Lox as the head coach, Josh Gaddis as the offensive coordinator, I mean, and that kid playing quarterback, Maryland's on the radar. They're gonna have a chance to do some things this year.
And before I turn over to Jeremy, I will tell you, I really had a great time with Josh Gaddis last year at the Miami Hurricanes Media Day. I hope that one of these days he gets an opportunity to become a head coach. So this will be a good opportunity for him to build his brand up in Maryland. Okay, Jeremy. But you have to read Patty first.
Patty Grimes says, stick with the people that believe in you first. Absolutely. But at the same time, he got offered, what was that, $1.5 million
Yeah.
correct? To switch to an SEC school. But I don't want to even know which school it is because I don't care. You know why? Because it takes a lot more intestinal fortitude to stay where you're at, to turn down that kind of money and
Right.
play for a team that believes in you, as Patty said. On top of that, this tells you about a moral character, and he does one thing his brother cannot do. He stays on the field.
Okay, I'll turn it over to Mel.
Yeah, I mean that shows a lot of character by that young man. I mean, 1.5 million, that's a lot of money. I don't know a lot of guys that would turn that down, but there has to be something said for the college experience. And my god brother and I were talking about this earlier today. I mean, everything has changed. Everything is about the money in college football right now. And I've expressed how I feel about certain things, particularly with NIL and the transfer portal. But I think that says a lot about him as young. I mean, obviously, he doesn't need the money. I mean, he's a smart kid. His brother's making a whole lot of money. He can go to college and enjoy the college experience. Obviously, he is, because he's going back for his 5th year. Does he have a pro career on the horizon? Maybe. I mean, he might be a mid to late round draft pick. I'm not sure. I haven't really looked at where they predict him or project him to be drafted next year, but I don't know if he even has that opportunity. But it says a lot about the young kid, man, that he's really there to enjoy their college experience, get the most, get better and better each and every year, build those relationships that you have, continue to build on those relationships that you have. I mean, he already started out at Alabama, then he transferred. So the last thing you want to do is go to a third school. I'm still, great friends with a lot of the guys I went to school with, and it's we're always going to have this certain kind of brotherhood because we understood the things that we had to do and what we had to go through, the things that we went through to play. The practices and the weight training and conditioning and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it just brings you together like nothing else can. So I'm happy for the kid that he decided to turn down that money.
Yeah, the reason why I brought this on as a topic is I believe that he made the right decision. I just want to get your opinions on it. So I think the younger two have made an awesome decision. With that said, Mel, I'll turn it over to you. Go ahead.
Hey, can I ask one question?
Sure.
All right. Does anyone? Am I the only one who thinks it was Texas A&M that offered him this money? I'm just wondering. That's my mind immediately went there.
I'm sure it's either him or it was who's the one that just lost Arch Manning?
Archie Manning? Man,
Arch
where
Manning?
was
This
Georgia,
right? Was it Georgia?
I thought it was Georgia. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, I thought
my mind immediately went there. I'm like, who has that kind of money? Who has that kind of cachet? Who
Arch
has a
Manning
coach under
decided to
pressure?
commit
Yeah.
to Texas.
Arch Manning wasn't it Texas, I believe.
Yeah, he went to Texas.
He went to Texas.
Right.
I'm saying which team in the SEC lost him because they just lost. Yeah, it is Georgia because he had a letter of intent, but it wasn't a commitment letter to
Gotcha.
Georgia. But he decided to go to Texas. I bet you it was Georgia. You know why? Because they just lost their 2-time national champion quarterback.
Yeah.
Plenty of money over there. Plenty of money.
It could be any team.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair.
The coach goes, that kind of makes sense.
Well, I don't know.
Lane Kiffin, Lane was at Alabama. I mean, I don't know if he, somebody that has Alabama ties.
Yeah.
I was thinking Ole Miss.
All right. You know what, Mel? Go for it.
Well, we're just talking about Tua turning down what was it, 1.5 million. And last week, I think it was, I was looking on I don't know, one of the social media sites, and Deion Sanders' son went out and bought him a $200,000 Maybach with his NIL money. Now, is that what you want to use your NIL money for? Is to go out and buy those types of automobiles? I think there's a better way, and I was surprised really that it's Deion because he knows better. I mean, he absolutely knows better than to go out there and to spend that kind of money on. I don't know where he's going to shake out as far as NFL. Maybe this is as good as it's going to get for him. I don't know what his stock is right now, but this is what I'm talking about as far as the NIL is concerned. You look at what's happening at Iowa State. These guys betting thousands of dollars on sports at their schools, on their own football games. nothing good comes when you give an 18 to 20-year-old, 21-year-old, 22-year-old that kind of money. Nothing good comes out of it. But I'm gonna go on from there. We'll talk about. I'm gonna beat this dead horse again. I know we talked about it before. We talked about the running backs and how injury prone they are. But there's some injuries this week. Last week in the NFL weren't to running backs. You had a Bronco wide receiver go down with an Achilles injury. We had a quarterback go down. Joe Burrow went down with a calf injury. And off the subject a little bit, Joey Bosa is still not in camp for whatever reason. Jonathan Taylor, after speaking with his owner, requested a trade.
And he should.
I want to get your thoughts on that, Jeremy. You say that he should, but do you think?
Yeah, he absolutely should, because Jim Irsay is probably now the worst owner since Dan Snyder got ousted and Magic Johnson and company owns the Washington Commanders, who's got a petition out to rename it back to the Redskins. Please sign that, because even the Native Americans didn't mind the name. It was just the left wing. But I'll leave it at that. But yeah, he absolutely should ask for a trade, because Jim Irsay comes out, leaks out a fake report that he reported to camp with a back injury, and that's why he wouldn't play when he was holding out for his next contract. So, and then Jim Irsay has the nerve to say, Jonathan Taylor, heck, if I died today and the Indianapolis Colts went belly up, he wouldn't have a job in the NFL.
What he said was, if he died and if Jonathan Taylor, I believe,
no, he said
didn't play anymore.
He said, if I die and the Indianapolis Colts went away, he would not have a job in the NFL, is exactly what he said.
I missed that. I missed that part of the report. I didn't catch that part.
I talked about it last night. Jim Irsay has to be the biggest idiot since Dan Snyder. That's all I got to say. Anybody that's going to sit there and, I'm not saying this is what happened, but this is what I thought happened last season when they fired their coach. He went, oh, yeah, we were good with Jeff Saturday. Let's hire him.
I mean, but let's be honest. We're making this about the owner, and the owner is stupid. Don't get me wrong. The owners, I mean, you can be a billionaire and still not be smart. You can just be good in the thing that makes you money and be, dumb in every other way. Fine. Yeah, fine. That's a lot of NFL owners. Great in this one little bubble, in this one little square of life, and just oblivious in every other way. Fine. That doesn't discount the rest of what's going on with the running back market. And again, we talked about this before. We kind of know it. And someone actually posted this maybe a week ago, and I saved it because I knew this conversation was coming. And I wanted to read this. If you will give me 30 seconds to get through it. And I feel like it perfectly encompasses what's happening with the running backs. It was actually a Titans fan who posted it. As a Titans fan, I saw it summed up perfectly. Titans lost Henry to injury 2 seasons ago. He's a top 3 running back, and still they were the 1 seed in the playoffs. The Titans lost Tannehill last season to an injury, who's probably a bottom 3 quarterback, according to most people, at this point in his career. And they fell off a cliff, basically forcing them into a rebuild. When arguably the best player and a future Hall of Famer for certain gets injured, and his team's record is 6-3 with him, and then 6-2 without him, where's the value in the position? The worst player at the quarterback position was more valuable than the best running back in the running back position. And that's the status of the NFL right now.
Jeremy, why don't you read your Patty's comments?
Patty Grimes says, when you grow up rich, you really do appreciate the value of money.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah, and I just wanted to weigh in on that one. I'm glad Mel brought that up. And it is true that, young guys and ladies, it doesn't matter, but I mean, youngsters make decisions that probably are more, glamorous to them at the time, buying a fancy new car, as opposed to investing, saving, giving the money to a charity, whatever you could do with your money, or just pack it away for what you'll need once you get out of college. So I agree. I mean, Mel, it's not a great thing what Sanders' kid did, but I really think that this is where, again, the college football, college sports has left itself wide open, because the governing body. There's no governing body to say you cannot buy a car. You got to buy this. Of course not. I mean, we're free to make choices like that in America. But I agree. I'm glad you brought that up, Mel. Getting back to that, your first topic, that to me it's frivolous. I wouldn't want to spend it on that kind of thing. Obviously, he did, but hopefully, it's an eye opener for a lot of kids that are getting that kind of money from the NIL.
Yeah, Coach Bono, you have anything to add with either regards to NIL or with the Jonathan Taylor situation or the state of the running backs in the NFL?
Man, it's
I
just
already know how you feel about running backs, so I'm hesitant to even throw it to you.
no, but I mean, look, I love the running backs. I really do. I just think it is. Like I said, it's very undervalued, unfortunately. I just think with the other stuff, I mean, youth, inexperience, money, and ego, man, equals poor decisions. We're a couple weeks ago, we're talking about a guy wearing a $50,000 chain to the media day, right, with his highlights on it. So I mean, you can't fault kids for wanting to have things that they've always wanted. They're young and they have the money. I mean, I still think we should blow up the scholarships, make it a salary cap, and call it what it is. It's a B league or minor league for the NFL or for pro football. I mean, why are the schools spending millions of dollars on scholarships? I mean, give them the NIL money, let them pay for their own school, and just go on.
Well, it's really a weird thing because it feels like the NCAA is allowing the thing that they had to allow in, being sued to get this to be where we are with the NIL process, while also not giving it a real organization and like the comment says, like a governing body. They because they're fighting against it, they then don't have the ability to put the actual governing body in place. So we're kind of just stuck with this kind of in between thing that we have. Like, I don't know if any of you know, but like Olympics used to be amateurs. That was the thing. That was a thing in the old days. The Olympics used to be amateur athletes.
Right.
And eventually they made that into where they could be professional athletes, but they actually gave them a real governing body that was able to look over them. And it worked out beautifully. It's just we're in that in-between stage where the NCAA doesn't really want to play these players. So this is just their workaround. So we're kind of stuck with this.
My question is, how much longer do the Power Five, the big schools, how much longer do they need the NCAA?
Yeah. Right.
I mean,
that's a story that could ultimately play out.
The NCAA makes the rules. They take part of the money. They don't generate anything. They're sponging off of the schools, and what are they giving back? Really, they create a structure, but it's up to the schools to follow the rules and everything. They don't,
Right.
They only come into play when somebody gets investigated.
Now,
Right.
I'm a younger guy, but I know I'm a younger guy, so I want to make sure my memory is not failing me on this one. But didn't something happen like either with Notre Dame or somebody like that in basketball where they tried not to work with the NCAA and eventually they kind of had to bend the knee to the NCAA and kind of come back into the fold because they were trying to have their own thing outside of the NCAA?
They still do in football. They had to lose it in basketball. That's what you're talking about. Because what happened is the NBC got in bed with the ACC for their contract, and it became a conflict of interest to have Notre Dame with their own contract and not be a part of one of those groups. So as basketball, they joined the ACC.
Gotcha.
That's exactly what you're talking about. I do believe.
All right, Jeremy, while you're at it, why don't you read Patty's comments?
Patty Grimes says, just a governing body if you buy someone a cheeseburger instead of a hamburger. And I know where they're alluding with that. I kind of want to set a Wolverine fan straight on that. Maybe I'll do that with a parting shot if we got time.
And we'll find out.
But unfortunately, as far as what the money is concerned, kids are going to do crazy things. But we're not even just saying kids. This is Deion Sanders' kid. This is the guy Deion who also spent millions of dollars on Flash. Like, this is, if you look at his highlight videos, he got all the jury on the sideline during the game.
He just bought a truck. Did you see?
Look at his draft day suit.
Yeah, during the game. This isn't just like a kid. This is Deion's kid. All right, cool. Yeah, he's probably not getting the advice not to buy that Maybach in the household.
Wasn't that like
Well,
a shiny red suit he wore, and that's why they gave him the nickname Neon to begin with? Was the suit he wore to draft day?
Dion Neon. Yep.
yeah,
I remember
Shader.
that.
I think his son's name is Shadur Sanders, and I know that he played with Dion over at Jackson State.
Jackson State.
Yeah, he's a
Probably.
pretty starting quarterback over there.
Right.
You know, this week a lot has gone on, and my brother, my god brother and I were talking about this today. We're talking about what's going on with the Pac-12, and
Right.
you know, things. I'm kind of old school, I guess. I value the bowl games. You know, the bowl games have lost all value now. Kids skip bowl games now. If you're not playing in the college football playoffs, a kid will skip the bowl games. Man, we look forward to the bowl games. All the little trinkets you get your little sweatsuit, you get a little jacket, a hat. You know, you might get some sneakers.
Fanny
You know, you
pack.
get all kind of little nice little watch and all that kind of stuff. You know, we look forward to all that kind of stuff, especially if you're playing for the Rose Bowl. Man, that was a big deal for us. I mean, that's all that we were trying to do is play in the Rose, get to the Rose Bowl, win the conference, and get to the Rose Bowl and play whoever was the won the Big Ten. And that was a big deal for us back then. And then as far as the national championships, you let that shake out however it shakes out. Let the pollsters vote, and however it shakes out is however it shakes out. Generally, you would have to run the table in order to win the thing. Unfortunately, we never did run the table, but we had some pretty good teams that finished in the top 10, and that's pretty exciting. Now what's going on is just a free-for-all. Even with the NIL, we're talking about, it was a legislative action that created this NIL right now from the federal level that turned it over to the states to make their own decisions as far as NIL is concerned. So everything is, so the NCAA can't do anything because the federal government got involved. So now the federal government's got to get back involved again to try to, wrap their arms around this thing because it's out of control. It's like a bull in a china shop. I mean, it's just out of control. But do you guys think the Pac-12 will survive, George?
I don't know. It's looking less and less likely. I mean, Mel, of course, you're referring to the news about Washington and Oregon possibly joining the Big Ten. And I know, Scott, we had a big discussion about this on a show, remember, months ago, talking about.
Yeah, and let me interject one thing.
Sure.
This will be a future topic on Inside the Pigskin.
Okay.
But you know what? We can proceed preliminarily with that.
Yeah.
We'll
I'll just make it. Yeah, I'll be quick here. But to answer Mel's question, yes, I think it could very well be the end of them. They're supposed to get a Apple TV contract supposedly, and come on, that can't compare to the contract that the Big Ten has for their television.
We're killing the consumers as it is already. I mean, they want you to pay for HBO Max, all these plus channels, ESPN Plus, Disney Plus, Paramount Plus. I mean, man, they're just killing the consumer. I mean, everything is a la carte. I mean, you just can't turn on the TV anymore and get some free television over the air anymore. Now you're talking about trying to do something with Apple. If that was his ace in the hole and that was the best thing he had going on, everybody's running out of the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Travis, what do you think? You think the Pac-12 will survive? No,
and I'm just fine with it. And I know that's a cold way of saying it. That's a weird way of putting it, but I'm a former UCF player. I know all about the Conference USA, how that was Metro Conference, then the Great Midwest, and these two conferences were just mushed together, and they just made that into a new thing. And then that's what happens naturally. We live in America. That's what this is about. This is monopolies gobbling up other, companies and companies mergers. That's what we live for, right? If we believe in that free market thing, we got to believe in that free market thing. So that's what this is. Hey, if it don't survive, it don't survive, and it's going to become something bigger and greater in some other way. Somebody else is going to eat it up.
Yeah, Jeremy, I don't think the Pac-12 commissioner is very forward thinking. I'm not real pleased with him. He had an opportunity to do some things. When Oklahoma and Texas decided that they were going to Oklahoma, Texas? Yeah, decided to leave the SEC. He had an opportunity to do something, and they didn't do it. I think Texas Tech was right for the taking. I think there's quite a few schools that were right for the taking that he could have done to strengthen that brand at that particular time, to strengthen the Pac-12. I'm a Pac-12 guy. I'm a Pac-10 guy, actually. I was Pac-12.
Right.
I'm hurt. I'm devastated. I'm crushed. I was crushed when UCLA and USC decided to leave. That hurt me to the core. Hurt me to my core. I believe in those old traditional matchups, the old traditional bowl games, the Ten winner against the Big Ten winner goes to the Rose Bowl. There's nothing better than that. Jeremy, will the Pac-12 survive?
Not a chance. They're losing all their biggest draws. You lose UCLA and USC, which both pack in Pasadena every game they play. Now you're going to lose Washington and Oregon. So you're going to be left with Oregon State, Arizona State. Who's left? I mean, dog water and dog crap. I mean, seriously. And it's also been rumored that Washington and Oregon are talking about joining the Big 12 and the SEC. There's been a different article from so many different. You don't know who's telling the truth, who's lying, and who's just blowing smoke.
The Big Ten actually, may want to go west and look at I think North Carolina and West Virginia. I think is what they're talking about. Those states. I'm not saying what particular schools, but looking at North Carolina and West Virginia because those are some big markets there.
You got to get that market
we'll
share.
get into more expansion talk later on. Jeremy, I want you to read Brian's comment.
Brian Three Cushion says, I remember when Dion wore that white fur coat and that fedora and all his gold. He was very flamboyant.
Okay,
most people would have he was a tight end or a cornerback.
Okay, Coach, on to you. I just had to get these comments and roll with it.
Yeah, I think I'm with you, Mel. I love the old rivalries and all that stuff, but it's just a different age now. The playoffs changed everything.
The money changed everything.
And the money changes everything. So now you've got the NIL, which is going to affect the group of fives, right? The max, all those conferences. The likelihood of those teams building up and being able to maintain to get a playoff run is less likely now with the NIL. 4 is an even number. 5 is an odd, 5 is an odd number. So if you have 4 major conferences, it just makes it a nice, neater package for the for the playoffs. That's just my unofficial conspiracy theory.
Hey, Coach, I want you to piggyback off of Big Dan Davis. I'll read this one. It's going to end up being the SEC and the Big Ten is the last 2 conference standing the way it's going. What are your thoughts about that, Coach?
No, I think it'll still be the ACC and the Big 12. I think there'll be 4 conferences, however big they are. And, their conference championships games will be the first round of the playoffs, and then there'll be crossovers, and then it'll go that way. And then anybody that's not in the playoffs will those will make up the rest of your bowl games.
Anybody else want to chime in? Sorry, Mel. I have to roll the chat room a little bit here.
I really wish the NCAA just will be more forward thinking and just make this what it is. Make this into March Madness. Just say, hey, you have an 8-game season. Everybody, you have an 8-game season, and then we're going to do this March Madness style for the fill in the blank amount of teams who make it into the playoffs. And you have that 5 games, whatever it is, 5-6 games. That's still a 13-game season, 14-game season. Cool.
That's not. You're
taking away 4 games from all the other schools,
right?
Who don't make it. Hey,
and that's the cost. They need that money.
They don't need that revenue to maintain the 70 scholarships per college.
Right.
And you're talking about experiences that you're taking away from players as well. I mean, those are 2 road games that they're not going to have, or however many road games, however many experiences they're not going to have, practice weeks that they're not going to have to get better to be able to go on to the next level.
I hear you. I'm just trying to fix it. I don't know.
So, Mel, any other things you want to get in there?
Unfortunately, I to piggyback off of Coach Bono's statement. Yeah. FSU and Clemson are thinking about joining Big Ten too, and if that happens, ACC falls apart.
Well, all right, Jeremy. Again, I said earlier, and I'll say it one last time. Okay, no disrespect intended. Okay, I will get more involved with expansion at a later date. I've heard those. I read them all, and I carefully choose things as they become closer to reality. I get that, but I'm with you, Jeremy. Nothing wrong with. I can tell you lots of things of where I think the Florida schools should go. But that's something that will be at a later date. So keeping things on track here. Now, is there anything else that you wanted to add that you had on your agenda that you wanted to talk about?
No, back over to you, Scott.
Okay. All right. So with that said, Jeremy, I'll give you a moment just to go ahead and talk about Clemson and Florida State, but bear in mind, we will be discussing this further. I believe you're right, is what I believe.
What I'm saying is the report that came out was all 4 of those schools. It was FSU, Clemson, Washington, and Oregon State are thinking about joining the Big Ten. If that happens,
Oregon, not Oregon State.
I mean Oregon, yeah, and Oregon. If all 4 of those schools come to the Big Ten, you might as well say it's going to be. We might as well do a North versus South championship every year.
Well, if you're going to throw that out there, what's going to end up happening if they go to 20? They're going to bring Cal and Stanford in there as well. Then you're going to have a full Western side.
And I don't like that. I don't like
it either.
Conference league. I don't like that. I mean, so again, where are the experiences for these players? I mean, you're not going to have the opportunities maybe to play each one of those schools at their place during your 4 years or 5 years that you're there on campus. I don't like that. I
don't disagree with you. It just stinks because again, this was what we're making it to, or what we're trying to turn back the clock to turn it back into is not what it is. It's not what it ever really was. It's like it's always been a business, but we've never treated it like the business. So if we're talking about the experiences for the children, awesome, or for the young men or young women, even for the other sports, awesome. Then it's amateurism and it's not a business. It's not about the money, but we know it's about the money and it always has been. And we're finally just putting the ugly face or taking the makeup off and seeing it for what it is. So we can't have the experiences and have the business. We're kind of having to make that choice, and it's ugly. It's an ugly fight. So that's what Mel's struggling with right now.
All right. Well, you know what, Travis, what I'm struggling with right now, honestly, and I'll tell you straight, okay? Number one, the odds of a March Madness format for college football are like the same odds of you getting gas for $1 a gallon. Don't hold your
slim and none.
What's that?
Slim and none.
Oh yeah, the big conferences will go against it. They don't want that to happen. They lose their
all right, but no, you're saying no. Give me a break, man. And everybody's right. They need these extra games to survive. You ought to know, being a Central Florida guy. All right, so here, let's just go a couple more comments out there. What are the panel's thoughts of 12-team college football playoff that's set to begin 2024 season? I'll go right around the horn really quickly with it, George.
I'm in favor of it. I was glad the expansion occurred. I would like to see that, and obviously, it's for the future to help better determine a champion.
Travis, quickly.
Same as George. I'm always a fan of the little guy having a better chance, even if it's just this much more.
Coach,
I'd rather see 16-team playoff.
Okay, that's fair. Jeremy.
Well, this is going to give a chance for those mid-major conferences that go undefeated and have a conference champion and all of them to get in. But what it will do, it is going to water it down a little bit once you get past 10, because the top 10, pretty much, those are all conference championships, 9 times out of 10, unless it's a one-loss SEC team where their loss was in that matchup.
So what's the point? Do you like it or not?
I like it, but I don't like it because we're going to have watered down teams in there. You're going to have the bottom seeds getting blowed out by the top seeds that didn't get a bye.
Okay, fair enough. Mel?
I mean, I'm torn. Obviously, as a college football fan, if you can get quality football matchups, man, obviously you're all for it. Getting more football games on television, I'm all for it. But at the same token, I didn't have a problem with the poll system. When everybody would just go to the little bowl games and let the polls decide it. Let the computer decide it. What was that poll called? That thing that did the little computer that they had that came out with the national champion?
No, the old FBS poll.
Wasn't that the BCS?
Yeah, the BCS.
Yeah, BCS.
Is that what it was? The BCS?
Bowl Championship Series. Yeah, BCS.
Let the computer figure it out. Yeah, I'm all for that. I'm good. I was good with that.
Everybody was good with it until what year? The year that Tennessee, Nebraska, and Michigan were all champions.
Who started making the big noise about it? The networks made big noise about it. The networks said that they wanted to have a true national champion. It wasn't the schools arguing about it. I mean, it is what it is. You go out there and play, and if a couple teams and 4 or 5 teams finish with undefeated, the polls say, hey, based on the strength of schedule, this team is the national champion. I'm fine with that. But this team's
under the BCS. But then you have another poll that says this other person's the national champion, and
That's
then you
fine.
have this.
You got co-national champions. I'm okay with that. I'm all right with it. It worked for many years. I'm fine with it.
All right, but you know what? Gas prices are now down to $1 a gallon, so we'll go back to that. All right, now James Burgess, my bet is for 16-team conferences with conference champ determining a Final Four that maybe wild cards will take it to 8. I don't know. I'm just putting comments up right now to acknowledge them. What about travel? Well, that's going to be a lot of miles, especially when UCLA has to come across the country to play Michigan or Ohio. They knew it. They don't care. Let's face the reality.
The players aren't the ones that make these decisions now.
Right.
Understand?
Right.
It's
Or the coaches.
The decision. He doesn't get in that plane. He gets a private jet wherever he wants to go. And I was just in a plane, just for an hour and a half. Man, that's tough. I was just an hour and a half ride. That's tough, man. My old rickety body, that's tough. A young kid, maybe it's a little bit different, but I know I'm still trying to recover.
And those are tough trips too. When you got to go across the country and play. I mean,
change time zone. Absolutely.
I mean, it's hard on NFL guys, and now you're talking about college kids, and they got to come back and go to class and all that stuff. Yeah. It reminds me of Maction, playing in Kent, Ohio at 8 o'clock in front of 300 people, then getting done at 11 o'clock and riding the bus 6 hours back to Mount Pleasant, and then get to class, guys. It's Wednesday. You know what I mean? It's like, it's insane.
And that's right. Television drove all of that. You're right. But I agree with Mel. The Bulls are something special. They always were special to me. I know Scott and I have both covered a lot of different bowl games, and the effort that, even in Detroit, that George Perlis and Kenny Hoffman put in to making that bowl game in Detroit special. I'll never forget that. All that energy, and they were so excited about having that bowl game here in Detroit or at the Silverdome before that. I know what you're saying, Mel. I want to get my 2 cents in on that. I do admire the Bulls. I still do, even though they don't mean as much as they used to.
Well, and if I can put that last one comment on the expansion, the 12 teams, sure. I'm just truly interested in seeing those wonky teams that sneak in at the end and they play some of those best teams like a Georgia Tech or someone running a wing T offense, and they upset one of these teams who are objectively just way better, but they just don't know how to play defense against this type of thing. That's something that I'm looking forward to. Just the chaos.
All I can say is I think 12 teams is better than what you had. 4, at least it opens the field up a little bit. 16, I don't know. Who knows? They may be talking that when they renegotiate the deal later. I don't even know. Yeah. All right, you know what? I'm going to create room for parting shots. I know everybody has a lot of energy, and I go with the role of the energy. Hello, Ralph. We'll see you in a bit. That's all I can say. At least I don't have to worry about you popping in when you're sending the invite because we are live, so it don't matter. All right, George. I'll start with you for some parting shots.
Well, kudos to the Detroit Lions fans. This morning, Team President Rod Wood got on the flagship station radio and announced that season tickets are sold out for the Detroit Lions. First time, at least the first time in the Ford regime. So a wonderful day for Detroit, a celebration. Fans are back. They never really left, in my opinion, but the Lions have sold out their allotted season tickets. So congratulations. The bandwagon is very full.
Okay, Travis, what's your parting shot?
Unfortunately, I'm not angry about much today, so I don't have an angry parting shot. So I'll just say I'm very happy about watching the Colts in disarray and watching the Titans even. So yeah, the Colts. If you have your owner just out there in the media just saying the wildest things and doing the wildest things, that makes me just smile in my heart. So Jim Israel, keep trying to rescue killer whales, and while your running back is trying to ask for a trade, this is a great day to be a Jaguars fan. That's my parting shot.
Yeah, I know how that is because I'm up there and I understand the Jacksonville thing, and I know that Jaguars could care less about Colts, and Jaguars do a good job beating Colts. So I understand that drill. Won't get into any more details. But all right, Coach, we'll ask for yours.
Yep, great week every year for football fans. It's Hall of Fame week. The season has started. We're not waiting anymore. We're starting their preseason games. They don't count, but they do matter, and the season is off and running. Here we go.
All right, Jeremy.
All right. I'm going to start mine with a question so I can get my thought across. What was the first state to pass the NIL? Was it not California?
You
What's
tell
that?
me.
The first state on the federal level in the state Supreme Court that passed NIL, was it not California?
I'm not sure.
I don't remember.
I believe it was. And the reason why I'm going to say that is what mogul who would have the most benefit from NIL coming out is based out of California? EA Sports. They lobbied for it. They got it going because they had to get it so they could pay players for their image to be in their video game. And that's why it's finally coming back out again.
Wow.
Okay. All right, Mel, what's yours?
Yeah, I just want to take time to remember my uncle. You know, I was telling you guys I had to go to Houston this weekend and lay my uncle to rest. You know, my uncle was a 4-sport star in high school. He was actually drafted out of high school to play professional baseball. Went to Wichita State, starred there in track and football. Was drafted in the first round, second overall by the Denver Broncos in 1965 in the AFL. And it was traded to the Houston Oilers because my aunt was sick and she needed open heart surgery. And at that particular time, a doctor in Houston was the best doctor in the business at performing this type of surgery. So the Houston Oilers and the owner at that particular time was the Hiltons, actually traded him to Houston so that he could be there with his wife while she was going through this. And, you know, imagine something like that happening nowadays. And in 1967, he actually led the league in interceptions with 10 and took 3 of those back to the house. He was the original Neon Deion Sanders, and he got to play his last year in the NFL in 1973 with my dad. I think he was voted to the All AFL team. I think he was a 3-time All-Pro, 3 or 4-time All-Pro. I think he played 11 seasons. His last season he played was in the inaugural year of the World Football League down with the Florida Blazers. So my uncle was a great guy, great football player, great guy. He was the one that actually – I taught myself how to drive a stick shift, but I would watch my mom's feet, and I would just take the car out around we lived in a little court, and I'd take the car out around the court, and I would just practice shifting gears. And one day he came to me and said, "Hey, Mel, let's go to the store." And I said, "Okay." And I thought I was going to get in the passenger seat. He said, "No, you drive." I was like 12, 13 years old. We did that back then. And he had a little 2-door EXP stick shift. And he said, "Go ahead and you drive." And I said, "Well, there's that little point out there where there's a hill. And there's a light there. And if I get caught at that light, I'm going to stall out." And then he said, "Man, don't worry, Mel Jr., you got it." And sure enough, I went out there, that light turned red, and there I is on the hill. And he told me what to do. That was before I learned how to balance with the accelerator and with the clutch. Just told me to pull up the parking brake, and then ease on the gas, let up on the clutch, and just let the parking brake go down. And sure enough, I took off without stalling. But 12, 13 years old, he was the one that was my first time that I went out on the street. And I learned how to drive. I learned how to drive with a stick shift. Travis probably doesn't know anything about that. But I just wanted to give a shout out to my uncle, man, and just keep my cousin and my little nephews in prayer as they go through this extremely difficult time. And their life is forever changed with his passing.
Well, Mel, you're a part of our family, and always prayers to your entire family that you get through this process as quickly as we can. I'm sure your uncle's very proud of you anyways, for sure. And again, rest in peace. That's all I can say. All right, well, my parting shot here. Okay, well, let's put James Burgess up there. Why not? This guy's on fire tonight. So go ahead, Jeremy.
EA did indeed lobby that very hard. Makes their college football video game much more marketable. They put Caleb on the cover this year, EYZ.
Okay. All right, now to my parting shot. Okay, Mac Jones says the Patriots have enough offensively. Okay, you know what, Mac? I'm one of those types of people that I need to see it to believe it. So I guess you should think that way. The only thing where I'll probably go ahead and give you a little bit is they did bring in a real offensive coordinator and Bill O'Brien. You're way ahead of that disaster called Judge and Patricia. And yes, this time I will say it, Jeremy.
Yes,
That
I
we
got
call
him
it
saying it.
dumpster fire last year. So, all right, Mac, I need to see it, believe it, before I can jump on the Patriots offensive Kool-Aid. So with that said, let's go ahead to final thoughts, introductions, or how to get a hold of you. We're going to start off with Travis Holmes.
You can find me on Twitter, Trav Likes Bacon. I really just love the name. I can't change it. You can find me on Instagram, on Facebook, on Threads, Travis D. Holmes. Throughout the season, you can find me covering the Jaguars with A7BN Sports as a technical analyst. And you can find my writings on bitcatcountry.com as the Jacksonville Jaguars SB Nation site.
All right, we got a little love from Big Dan Davis. Okay, there you go. Love the show. Awesome job. Keep up the good work. Thank you,
Thank
Dan,
you, Big Dan.
for being on.
Thank-
And a guy that'll be following us very shortly, Ralph Williams. No more flip of the coin. Play calling between Matt Patricia and Joe Judge. Boy, true words can be said there, Ralph. Good stuff. All right, we go on to Farr Jr.
You can find me on all the social media, and it's not Twitter anymore. It's X now, right? X. Find me on X. You can find me on
Yeah,
Facebook,
a little while to get used to that one.
Threads, LinkedIn, and Instagram at Mel Farr Jr. And then you can follow what we have going on for young folks down here in Atlanta, also up in Michigan at melfarr.org.
Okay, Jeremy, go through the grocery list because there's a lot.
Yeah, well, you can find me on the SouthFloridaTribune.com under the Motor City Tribune heading, where I write underneath great authors such as my publisher, Scott Morganroth, and George Eichhorn himself. Then you also have this channel on YouTube, the South Florida Tribune channel, where I am on any Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, Sunday that he needs me. Then you can also find me on my channel, which is Kneecap Biting with the Detroit Lions on Wednesday and Friday. And Fridays and Sundays, I am also on Let's Talk Sports, and which is also a partner with Sideline Sports, as we are as well. So I am everywhere and every day of the week.
And what's your message to your people, Jeremy?
Please, if you like the show and you're talking on my channel, go over to the SouthFloridaTribune.com channel, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and share it with all your sports fans. And don't forget to always try to be a better person than you were the day before, because that's the only way to leave the world a better place.
Attaboy, Jeremy. All right, Coach, on to you.
You can find me right here or on LinkedIn or any of the on the water out here in Palm Coast.
Great stuff. All right, James Burgess. Good stuff. One and all. I love Coach. You know, he's the best. If in doubt, imagine what Robert Ursay would do, then do the
Yes.
opposite. All right. I was waiting for a Robert Ursay reference, and Burgess delivered the goods. All right, George, go ahead.
You can find me on the South Florida Tribune under the Motor City Tribune, and I write with great guys like Scott and Jeremy. And the book is available, Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air. There's a link to purchase the book at the end of my column. And Scott's in the book, and great people like Dave Dials and Van Patrick and Bill Fleming and all these great sportscasters we had in Detroit, who even used to cover Mel's uncle and his father playing football. So we got a great book going, and you can find me here on the Pigskin and also on the 108 Stitches and Sports Exchange and wherever Scott needs me. So I can be reached at gicorn@yahoo.com is the easiest way.
And speaking of books, I'm writing one, Adjusting to New Media. I'll give you more information when it becomes available. Also, Inside the Pigskin is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of this show, Inside the Pigskin, can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? One way to do it is being involved in the chat room. And I know we have a lot of people that Jeremy will be reaching out to. Also send topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Want to advertise cost efficiently? Call me at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Website www.southfloridatribune.com. Twitter at Tribune South, Candy's behind the scenes. And of course, I mentioned earlier, coming up later this summer, the Motor City Madmouth show will be debuting. I'll go into more details as we get closer. I'd like to mention a couple times because we have a lot of good things to look forward to. So on behalf of George Eichhorn, who will be joining me on the other side, over to Fire Up with Ralph Williams and Travis Holmes and Coach Bono. We're sporting that Tigers hat, no problem. He's a Detroiter at heart with us. We can go with it. Smoking Jeremy B, who will be joining me on the other side, and Mel Farr Jr., who will, like the rest of this crew, be joining us next week. We want to thank you very much for joining us on this edition of Inside the Pigskin, and I wish everybody a great weekend, and we will see you the next time.